Welcome back, and as we earlier said, of course, our usual Saturday morning segment, which is very interesting, by the way, talking or delving into the ancient Egyptian lives and history and culture. Today we talk about some terms or some words that we use in our daily life, or some names that we do not recognize that they come from the ancient Egyptian old language. And we keep using them every day. And until this very moment, there are certain countries, certain cities that still carry the same expressions, the same words, ancient Egyptian words. Nobody's better to tell us more about this particular issue than Mr. Bassem Al-Shamma, the historian and author of Egyptology. Good morning, Mr. Al-Shamma.
Good morning to you, my dear.
A very good morning to you, sir. As Dina kindly mentioned, those names in specific are some of the cities we do have in Egypt. We do not know its origin, or at least we do not have this correlation between its current origin and if they do have a special meaning when it comes to the pharaonic era. Do we have such names?
I want the people to carry small block notes in their pocket in the morning and a small pencil. And by night, when you go back home, write and read all what you heard and what you said during your daily life and see how many of these words you know its meaning. You will be amazed. You are talking hieroglyphs, you are talking Coptic before Christianity, you are talking Coptic after the entrance of Christianity through St. Mark in Alexandria, 1st century AD, you are talking Arabic, you are talking Persian, you are talking Latin, you are talking Italian, you are talking French, you are talking everything. This is an amazing melting pot that we call Egypt and we call the Egyptians. One of the most amazing things in this topic is names of cities, as you mentioned. We know Alexandria because it was Alexandrius the Great. And by the way, since we are talking language and philology, science of languages and scripts today, I would like everybody to start stopping calling him Al-Iskandar Al-Akbar, because that's what we call in Arabic to our friends who don't read or write Arabic. This is what we call the guy in Arabic. Alexander the Great is in Arabic Al-Iskandar Al-Akbar. Everybody's writing it, everybody's using these words and these names, right? And these titles. Well, of course, he's not Al-Akbar. He is Al-Kabir. Because at least in English, you're going to call him Alexander the Greatest. If he was Al-Akbar. This is the greatest pyramid. Then it is Al-Haram Al-Akbar, not Al-Haram Al-Kabir. So now we have to stop Al-Iskandar Al-Akbar and we have to start calling him Al-Iskandar Al-Kabir. This is by the by. So we know Iskandariya, we know Alexandria because of the origin of this guy and his dream that he, by the way, did not live to see it happening. Here is the first surprise of the day. Alexander the Great did not see Alexandria. Once again, Alexander the Great did not view Alexandria as a city. Can you imagine this? Because he died 32 years of age before the whole thing. Yes, he put the foundation of the idea, he had the dream, but he didn't live long enough to see it happening. But then, when we talk about a place like Fayoum, the most amazing, beautiful, and Fayoum, of course, was on top news these days because of the great factory that was opened a couple of days ago.
Phosphate fertilizers factory, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Fayoum, I ask you, Fayoum, you'll tell me, beautiful place, an oasis, underground, beautiful water, green gardens, it's an oasis in the middle of the desert, and so on and so forth. Beautiful people, beautiful history. But do you know the meaning of the word Fayoum? That's important, because that's your history, that's the name, and it's going from one generation to the other, and there is very little number of people who are questioning the origin, the root of words like, or names like Fayoum. So let's take Fayoum. Interesting thing about hieroglyphs, you asked, and you commented about, are we dealing here with origins of words? We like to put that link. We people who read in history, we like to put that link to understand more. Sometimes names in ancient Egyptian would give you geography, and sometimes would give you River Nile, and so on. Let's take Fayoum as a good example. Pa Yem. That's the origin. Pa Yem. Yem is a hieroglyphic word for a body of water. River can be a Yem. Sea can be a Yem. And here is another one. Sea can be a river. That's Arabic. Can you imagine this? If you open Al-Razi Mukhtar al-Sahah, the famous dictionary of Mukhtar al-Sahah of Al-Razi, the famous, the genius Al-Razi, you will notice that the word Nile is from getting, from receiving, Yanel.
Yeah.
And he's explaining the river Nile as it is called the sea because of its, because of its width and because of its length.
And the same expression now, say, على البحر.
Exactly.
But let me get back to Alexander the Great or Alexander the Greatest, and emphasize a certain point. Now, Alexandria is not only the Alexandria that we have here. There are like around 9 or 6 Alexandrias.
Over 40 actually.
40 around the world.
I think 18 in America.
9 in the United States.
Alexandria, Virginia.
Right. So, so that would question that it comes from a hieroglyphic origin. This is number one. And number two, I don't know, I'm just questioning that. And also the calling Alexander the Greatest, maybe they didn't do so because it goes to some religious restrictions, and that would make them, I mean, that would ban them from, you know, using the term greatest. So if you can elaborate on that.
Yes, I'm with you on this comment. Number one, Alexander is not hieroglyphs. Alexander, this is a guy who's coming from a Macedonian origin. His father is the famous Philip the Macedonian, who ruled the whole kingdom, and then came his young son, very ambitious, and he ruled until 30 years of age.
But is it also Macedonian?
It is the city itself, built by the Egyptian hands, but of course at that time the rulers were Ptolemies, so they were Macedonian origins, they were Greek origin. Interesting thing though is, when the ancient Egyptians wanted to carve the name Alexandros on a cartouche on the walls of the temples, because that was the deal. Alexander is going to rid us from the Persians.
It was very popular.
And we're going to make you, we're going to make you the king of Upper and Lower Egypt. You are the son of Ra. You are the son of Amun, Jupiter, and so on and so forth. So in his dreams, and that's very Alexander the Great. He was looking after the fame and all of that. Very, very character of him. So interestingly enough, there was no letter X in hieroglyphs.
And no letter A.
And there is letter A. Oh, definitely there is letter A. And you will find it in the form of a vulture. Okay. This vulture that you see, the bird, the vulture, the beautiful, that's A. So A is there. Okay. L is the line. The line. All right? But there is no X and there is no Z, by the way. So Zosar of the step pyramid, everybody, is not ancient Egyptian.
Really?
Djeser, hello, welcome to ancient Egypt. Here is another surprise for you. Isis is not an ancient Egyptian name.
What?
Yes. Isis in Arabic with a Z, right? Not an ancient Egyptian. Why? One, no letter Z or Z in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Two, it was Iset. So every lady who became like this amazing mythological lady who protected her son Horus, and is against and so on, Horus, and of course her husband Wasir, who then became Osiris, Osiris, not hieroglyphs. Osiris is not a hieroglyphic name. This is all happening in the days of the Greeks later on, when they added the S and they added this and they added that. So rewriting Egyptian history, as we are trying through these episodes, is crucial, because our young generations and old generations are pronouncing the names of our grandpas and grandmas wrongly. Wrongly, okay, so I'm a little bit hot about that, but I can say not Egyptian, let's say. Not wrongly, but not Egyptian. So go back to Alexander. So how are you gonna, as an ancient Egyptian, smart guy, it was a smart civilization, that was, I'll tell you that. How are you going to overcome this problem? The great king of Upper Egypt who rid you from the Persians, and you are now holding this huge favor towards this guy and his army. You are going to write his name wrong. You are actually not going to write a letter in his name. How are you going to manage? Well, they managed. Go to Luxor temple, the east bank of Luxor city, the city of palaces, Al-Qusur, Al-Aqsur, the plural of Qasr, Palace, palaces, the Arabs called them the palaces, called those temples the palaces. City of palaces. Al-Aqsar, Al-Qusur, plural. And you will find that he went like that. A-L, K, S, Dras. So he managed to put the K and the S. And we have a K and we have an S in hieroglyphs. So put the two letters or the two signs after each other. The K and the S will give you the sound, the phonetic of Ks. So Alik, that's a K. S, that's an S. Dras. And by that, he managed. So, if we go back to Fayoum, you will find that Yam, as we said, is a body of water. Where in Fayoum is a huge body of water? Of course, the Qarun Lake.
Yes.
Well said. So, the ancient Egyptian person saw that this place is noticeable with that. So, okay, big sea, big body of water, Yam. Amazing enough, if you read the Quran, Kareem, the Holy Quran, the glorious Quran Kareem, you will find that the mother of Prophet Moses, be unto him, brought him where? In the Yam, which is at that time was the River Nile, because she didn't put him on the basket in the sea, right? She put him where? She put him in the River Nile. So Yam became body of water, river or lake, as in our case in Fayoum. Pa, Yam, the lake. Pa, Yam, the big body of water. Right. P and B in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs had this amazing fashion of changing into an F later on for some very strange reason.
Which became in English PH.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Philae, the temple of Philae. In Aswan, the famous one on the island of Egeliki. Philae was originally Piala.
When we write Fayoum now, we should write it with a PH, not with an F.
So, the great lake, the great body of water, put them Payom. Pa changes into a F, as we said. Like, for example, in Philae was originally Pilai, the edge, because it's in the south. So it's in the edge of the country. So, Payam becomes Fayam. We are still calling it Fa in ancient Egypt. But when the Coptic language came in and started to be used, it was a mix between the populous language and the Greek. That's Coptic, as we know it. So letters started to be a little bit heavier in some cases. So the F became a V. So it became Vayum. Like Varum, like this. So Vayum. So Vayum became Vayum and started to be used as Vayum all the way until Arabic came in, 640 AD with Islam. The A and the L,
Arabic.
exactly. And at the Ta'rif, the A and the L will be placed, so it will be Al Vayum. The V lightened a little bit in Arabic and it became Al Fayum. Why is this important from the historical point of view, not only from the language point of view? I'll tell you. Because if you like press on anything with Fayum, go back to some people who wrote that this beautiful governorate or city was called Al Fayum because it was constructed in 1,000 days. Alf Yom. Yom is an Arabic word for a day. Alf is an Arabic word for 1,000. So people started mythologically to say and to repeat this everywhere, that Al Fayum was called Al Fayum because it was constructed in 1,000 days. Alf Yom. Of course, that's not. Like Damanhur in Bahira. They tell you what, and this is unfortunately written. That's why, guys, be careful what's written in the net. Do not take your history from the net, from the internet. They tell you Damanhur. Two big tribes fought and blood was everywhere. Oh, this is giving you a bad name. Blood everywhere. Rivers of blood in Bahira. What? So it is, Ad-Dam became Nuhur. Dam and Hur. Nuhur, plural for Nahr, Nahr, river. So rivers, Dam is an Arabic word for blood. So rivers of blood. What? What rivers of blood? Where is this in history? Where did you read this in history that in Bahira, people there are amazing, they are beautiful, they are calm, they are everything. Right. But what's the, in front of that, on the other hand, you have to offer a good example and a good description of the alternative and the right alternative as well, if you like. So, Take a look at the Manhur. You will find that it is amazing enough the best place for falcons. Falcons, the bird. Falco, and Latin. Peregrine falcon if you like. Kestrels if you like. Locust falcon, there is a falcon called the locust falcon. I like to eat locusts all the time. So locust falcon if you like. Peregrine falcon with the design that you see on the Eye of Horus.
Yeah.
With the design down there, because it's on the peregrine falcon called peregrine falcon. So I'm opening the encyclopedia of Maktabat al-Usra, Library of the Family, which is, bless them, amazing job, of birds. I'm going like this, I'm searching for the falcon, and here it is written in that very amazing work for birds of Egypt that the best place for falcons in Egypt to live in is Damanhur.
Okay.
Not Bahira, Damanhur.
The
Which
capital
is
of
the
Al-Bahira
capital of
province.
Bahira.
Yeah.
So there is some kind of a precision in the description. So I'm reading here and there, trying to find out, and our great scientists, and here what you find. Dimen Her. Her, hieroglyphics for Hor, Coptic. Hor, Coptic, the Greeks came in with the letter S, the famous S in everything in the ancient Greek. So Hor, Coptic, Horus, Greek. So when you say Horus today, you're actually talking Greek. You're not talking hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphs is Her. Her, that's it. Open the Arabic dictionary. Al-Hor. That's one of the names of the falcon because it soars in freedom.
Yeah.
And even the United States is the same thing.
Yeah.
Liberty.
Her, Hor, Shaheen, Albaz, all those names for falcons, right? But we'll design with Her, Her. Al-Hor, Her, hieroglyphic. So, Her, Hor, Coptic, Horus, Greek, Al-Hor, Arabic. This is amazing. Get me one culture in the world that links all those four amazing civilizations together in one word. 2 letters. Pretty amazing. So, Di Men Her, Di Men, the place of, the house of, the habitat of hieroglyphs. So, Di Men Her, Di Ben Hur, Damanhur.
How did it evolve?
This, what I'm talking about, that you never would leave. This is one of your traditions, is that you, as an Egyptian people, you do not lose history. I'm not talking about historians. I'm not talking people sitting talking about history. I'm talking people in the street. They don't lose their history. That's how, this is why everybody from outside Egypt get fascinated by the people of Egypt. That's why I'm interested in the history of the people, not the history of the kings only.
Yes.
Right? Because they were the people who were responsible for that civilization. Qina. So you think Qina, Qina, Qina. No, there is no Arabic word which will relate me to Qina. Unless you are talking Qana, perhaps. No. Qina in Upper Egypt from Qini. And Qini, perhaps with the hieroglyphic word related to embrace. To embrace somebody is to Qini somebody. And if you look geographically at Qina today, you will find that the land of Qina and the river Nile all of a sudden goes like this. And as if the river Nile with its amazing waters,
Shape of a U.
exactly, kind of getting closer to a kind of a semicircle, something like that, and it's embracing the land of Qina. Which means that this naming Qina would directly give you that ancient Egyptians studied geography. A question: how did he see the river Nile embracing Qina from above? So did the ancient Egyptian fly? Did he soar? Or they used
In my humble opinion, they did.
or they went over mountains and checked geography from above?
Unfortunately, we're running out of time. We don't want to end it, though. But Mr. Bassam Shamma, the historian and author of Egyptology, it's very interesting time talking to you, as usual.
Thank you.
So please, next time, promise me that we are going to speak about this Seth and Set issue.
Here you go.
Okay?
Okay. Inshallah.
Right after the short break, we are going to be back with our final segment of the breakfast show. So stay tuned only on Nile TV International.